Hi, everyone. Good evening. Welcome back to Social Change Warriors. My Life Mattered. We're glad to have you back again tonight. Just wanted to double check. I was having a little tech issues getting one of our guests into the room tonight. So if you are here with me right now live and you can type in the friend zone area and just let me know you can hear me, because I just want to make sure the audio is working okay. I could hear my guest when we were doing our tech check, but she couldn't hear me. So I want to do a little mini tech check with all of you right now. And let me know. Mary, she says, I can hear you. Great. Thank you, Mary. I've got her on the phone. So welcome back, everyone. It's good to have you back for Wednesdays, our night where we empower women. We stand for victims of domestic violence and domestic violence homicide. It is a rough topic that we choose to cover, but it's a real topic. It's really happening every week. We are losing women to violence. They are either being hit, beaten, harassed, stalked, yelled at by their partners, just defamed by their partners. This is going on all around our country, all around the world. Women are victims of domestic violence assault, and sadly, when it escalates, domestic violence homicide. So that is what we are up to during the week. We are working with families that give us permission to take another look, take a second look, get some more eyes on the homicide investigations of their dear loved ones. And sometimes the cases that we're covering on the deaths of their dear family members are closed, and the police were satisfied with what they did and the person that they believed was the perpetrator. Other times the cases are cold. They're just, nothing's happening. There's no movement. The police are stuck. And other times the case is active and it's still actively being investigated and no one's been arrested yet, but there's persons of interest, and the families just want to have another set of eyes. They want some advocacy. They want to be able to vent with us and talk to us. So that's why this channel exists. This channel is my volunteer project. I do not get paid to be here on any of the days or nights that I work with the families. I do it as a volunteer. I wanted to do this as my retirement give back to all the great things that happened in my life and for people that helped me along the way. When really horrible, tough things have happened to me and my family, I couldn't have made it through without people that stood with me and stood for me. So I want to do that for the domestic violence families who don't get a lot of support from the mainstream media. Do you very often tune into your local news, or do you read in your local newspaper that another woman has been taken from this planet because her husband or boyfriend or fiance or stalker decided that he wanted to end her life? And I don't mean any disrespect to those of you that have family members that were in same-sex marriages or bisexual marriages. That's just not my expertise. I don't know as much about the causation of that. The wheel of doom is basically the same. The power and control wheel works the same regardless if you're in a man on man or a woman on woman or a man and woman relationship. But my area of expertise with my master's degree was domestic violence, man on woman. So that is what I focus on. If you have a family member that has lost their life due to domestic violence, and it was either man on man or woman on woman, I would be happy to meet you. I'd be happy to know your story, and you can come on our channel. There's no discrimination here ever. Everyone's welcome. Every religion, color, creed, background, everybody, sexuality, love is love. We welcome everyone here at Social Change Warriors. But my expertise is on man on woman domestic violence, and those are the majority of sadly, the homicide cases that we cover here and the families that we work with here when we live stream on Wednesday nights. And during the day, when I work with the families, doing research, reading their police reports, finding out inconsistencies, trying to figure out why the police are ignoring the families or why they're not giving them information. We've had everything on this channel. We've had police refusing to speak to families. We've had police refusing to meet with families. We've had police literally ghosting families because they get tired of them bothering them or trying to investigate the crime of their own child or their own loved one, because they don't like what the police is doing. They don't feel the police is doing enough. So like in the case of Sarah Ebersol in Florida, they completely shunned Sarah's family because they were trying to do their own investigations because the police weren't doing it. And I got involved and they were shunning me and not taking my calls after a time for the same reason. They don't want to give us the answers that we want or that we need for either to help along the way the best we can, or to get closure for the families the best we can. So I welcome you and I thank you. It means a lot to me that you join me and that you subscribe to our channel, that you like our channel, that you care about our channel, because by doing that, you're caring about victims of domestic violence and their families and the fight and the battle that they go through in many cases where their case is just not going to get solved, or it can't be solved, or it's cold, or we feel the police are messing it up or not doing their jobs. So that's what we're here for. And I get to work with some amazing, amazing people who have been through the worst kind of trauma that any of us could ever imagine. So we're here to offer them empathy, sympathy, and a platform to talk to us about their family member and share what has happened to their family member. So we are back tonight for the first hour talking about Mallery Muenzenberger, and her dear son, Major Harris. And I have her mother with us tonight, Mary, and hopefully we can get her voice working. If not, I'm going to have her call me and we'll have her on speaker here in a few minutes. But first of all, I just want to remind you for everyone of who we have been advocating for the past year and a half. So I'm just going to play a little bit of our theme music and show you a few of our photos of the dear departed people that we have stood for and advocated for and work with their families and are trying to continue to advocate for in these really horrific losses of life. So we'll just take a moment to listen and think about these wonderful people and their families and pray for them and hope for justice for them. And I will be back momentarily.
They try to silence the truth we shout, but we're still here, we're still calling out. Corruption hides behind a badge of name. We light the fire, expose the shame. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they tried to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. The stories echo, the pain runs deep. For stolen lives we can't just weep. Elected power, but their hearts are cold. We'll bring the truth, let it be told. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they try to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight. The hidden wounds, undo the harm. Calling out corruption, we'll stand tall for justice and truth will risk it all. My life mattered is the cry we sing. Together we rise, let freedom ring.
Thanks, everyone. Just wanted to remind everyone of all of the beautiful souls that we've been advocating for justice for their families for the past year and a half. And all of them are still in the fight for justice for their family members. The last person I put up was Anna Walsh, and that was the most recent trial of a victim that we have advocated for, where her husband was convicted of her homicide and he is in jail. So there is hope. Justice can be found. There can be justice for your loved ones. Sometimes it takes an incredibly long time, and that I understand and recognize how difficult and hard that is for all of you. And that's why we want to stick with you the whole way through, have you back as often as you'd like to be with us, as often as you'd like to talk about your family member and honor them and give them as much, grace and peace as we can while you're with us on our channel. And you're always welcome whenever you need to vent and just be with people that want to have compassion and understanding for you and for what you've been through. You're always welcome here. So I'm glad to have all of you tonight. For the first hour, we'll be chatting with Mary Jo, who is Mallory's stepmother and Major Harris's grandmother. And I'll be reminding you a little bit about, we have had several live streams now telling you about the background of Mallory's homicide and Major Harris's, and you can go into our live stream library and you can find that if you want to get super more information, because we had a good hour or two at a time. Tonight I'll give you just the background and where we're at with it right now, and then we're going to talk about questions that we have after reading through all the police reports. And I've interviewed Mallory's parents several times. I feel like I understand a lot of what was involved in what happened with Mallory, the best that we can know anything about anyone, because we weren't in her brain. We weren't there to see every action she was taking and every person she talked to. But for the best of our abilities now, we have a better understanding of what was happening the day that she was unalived in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And then approximately 9:30, I'm waiting to hear back from Ida Lee. I'm hoping she's going to join us again tonight. We've had her on as a guest several times. She's been heavily involved in the shenanigans, the criminal shenanigans, the dirty cops, dirty deeds going on in Massachusetts. And now with all the breaking news from the recent unredacted, some of the redacted Epstein files, the names that have been coming out are not completely surprising to many people who have followed this for years. But I believe to the Massachusetts, there's some pretty interesting names coming out in these emails, these somewhat creepy, really creepy, scary emails that people were having with Giselle Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. I don't even like saying their names. I don't like giving them a second of airtime. These really horribly criminally minded people. I like to, we're not supposed to use the SEX word anymore on YouTube, but SEX deviants, but in the most criminal, disgusting of ways that can be imaginable, that you don't want to imagine, that most of us never want to think about or know. But these things are going on in the world. These crimes are going on in the world. These crimes against children, crimes against teenage girls are going on in the world. So we have to wake up and smell the coffee. We have to get with the program here and start believing women when they tell us things. And granted, there's always going to be those naysayers out there saying, what about the women that lie or make up stories about SEX assault? Well, that is a very small number. And I can guarantee you that from the evidence and the numbers and the recording systems that the police have and social workers have and domestic violence shelters have, the numbers are tiny compared to the numbers of women who are actually injured, hurt, SEX assaulted without their permission, children obviously cannot give permission. So the Epstein situation with Maxwell and all of their other nefarious people that were spending money through his dark, dirty channels on his island and on his houses in Florida and in his houses in New York and potentially in cities all over where there were brothels. We're going to chat about that a little bit tonight, and hopefully Ida Lee will join me. It's a difficult subject to talk about, but it has to be talked about. If we are advocates and we are justice seekers and we are looking to support and empower women, we have to talk about it, no matter how horrible it makes us feel and how many nightmares it gives us, because we have to offer the victims our support. So let me get back to, let's start out with, let me give you a little bit of reminder of why we're advocating for justice for Mallery and Major Harris. And that is mainly because the family contacted me. I knew a little bit about this case because I'm from Wisconsin, and I remembered reading about it and thinking that's horrible. And I recognized the neighborhood not being terribly far from the one where I lived when I was a child for 7 years, not far from Washington Park. It's a beautiful park in Milwaukee, and old school Milwaukee neighborhoods with the really cool old houses. And I remembered hearing about this thinking, oh, this is so tragic. How could this happen anywhere, right? How could this happen anywhere? But when you hear about it happening in a city that you're from, in a city where you grew up for 7 years, obviously all of you that have had these tragedies happen in your cities, you know what I mean. If you live in a small town and you never have a tragedy like this, you're trying to have empathy for those that do. But when it happens in your town where you grew up, then it's a different kind of smack to your face, and it hurts you worse, and it hurts you in a different way. So Mallery and Major Harris were unalived, which is what we have to say according to the YouTube rules. Now, I'm not supposed to use the M word, which irritates me because I'm a journalism major. That's my first degree, and I love words. I love words in the dictionary. I like to use words in the dictionary, and I like to use words that I've always used when I was a police officer, a social worker. I don't like being told by a YouTube platform that my words aren't allowed, because whatever word you use, it's still describing a heinous act. So whether I say the M word or I say unalived, it's a heinous act that happened to these two beautiful humans, and they were taken away from their families by the hands of someone else. So what we're dealing with here, I'm at that age, guys, where I need glasses for distance. So I like to have my glasses on so I can see the screen, but I have to take them off in order to read your comments or in order to read what I have on my own screen. So bear with me with the off and on of the glasses. We are dealing with 2 homicides and 1 self-inflicted unaliving of themselves, allegedly. I'm not so sure about that after everything I've read and things I've heard from the family and interviews the family gave to the Milwaukee news channels. So we have 3 families broken and many, many, many family members and friends, and they will never be the same. And because these 2 beautiful humans are no longer with their family members because someone else decided to take them from their families. So Mallery Muenzenberger was found shot to death outside a Milwaukee residence on October 14th, 2021. Do I have that date right? I questioned that date. I think I got it right? 2021, Mary, not 2022, right? You can if you type that in the friend zone for me, but I'm pretty sure I've got this date right, but we'll double check. I'm going to try to bring Mary up on the screen here for a minute. I just wanted to give you all the background first, and then I'll kind of update you as to where we're at and what we've been working on the past 3 months. Major Harris was reported missing. Mallery was never reported missing because no one knew she was missing until her family didn't even know what had happened to her until almost, I believe, close to 48 hours after she was found. And this is a difficult situation when you deal with an adult because the family, doesn't always hear from their kids every single day when they're adults. Sometimes you might not talk to your kids for a week if they live in a different city than you. But so that part was very difficult. But Major Harris was reported missing because it was found out shortly after Mallory's body was found. And I hate talking clinical like this when I have a mother on the line with me. Mary, I'm sorry, but I have to talk a little bit clinical in order to get through it myself. But I hate that because I know this is your person, this is your daughter, this is your grandchild. These are your humans. So I don't want any of you to think I'm being cold-hearted or cold, but in order for me to get through these, I have to talk a little clinical because it's very hard for me. This hurts my heart. I think of Mallory and Major every day. I think of all of my cases every day until they're actually solved or someone gets and we get justice. And I will never forget any of the family members that I have met and their dear loved ones that I have advocated for. They will stay with me until I leave this earth. Some days one stands out more than the other, or I try to solve it. I dig, trying to solve, why can't this be solved? What are we missing? What are we missing? And it's frustrating. So when we live stream and I speak, I have to do a little bit of this clinically, or I'm going to break down and I'm going to start to cry because I've come to care so much for all of my families that I've been advocating with and for. So let's keep going. This is so hard. Sorry, Mary and your husband. Major Harris was reported missing shortly after his mother's body was discovered in the backyard of a home of a friend. I use the word friend loosely because I don't really understand completely the relationship that Mallory had with Jaheim. I don't think they were super good friends. I don't think they knew each other that long, but acquaintance at the time. She was found in the backyard of Jaheim Clark's mother's house. And Major Harris was missing for quite a long time. And there was an Amber Alert and no one knew where he was, or they thought maybe they knew who had him. But sadly, Jaheim, as we believe, if we believe what they're telling us, he unalived himself. His family says he would never do that, that he had no reason to unalive himself, that he wasn't the one who unalived Mallory. So the family of Jaheim has never believed that he unalived Mallory or that he unalived Major Harris. They don't believe that he would have unalived himself. So there's just a lot of questions that haven't been answered for any of the families or that I can find in the police reports that really point 100% for me to even believe that Jaheim unalived himself. I'm very concerned that he may not have, and that the real perpetrator could still be out there. But we don't know for sure because we're having some issues getting our answers from the police department. And I'll get into that in a minute when I bring Mary Jo up with me on the platform. The medical examiner determined when they did find Major Harris a few weeks later that both Mallory and Major Harris were shot 2 times in the head. It's horrible. It's horrific. It should never happen. And it's despicable. The worst kind of trauma you could ever imagine for a family to have to go through, all of these families. Now, where it gets tricky is there's a lot of players involved in this, as there typically is in a homicide. It's rare when it's just one man, one woman. Those are your typical domestic violence homicides. Those you can usually describe. They have more of an MO, more of a pattern. The husband is the controller. He's been controlling his wife for years. He's been potentially abusing her physically for years, definitely mentally and verbally for years, keeping her from her family, controlling the finances, controlling the decisions with the children. And then she decides she's going to try to leave. And when she decides she's going to try to leave is the most dangerous time for a woman in a domestic violence situation. And most of our ladies that are unalived by the hands of their husbands or boyfriends or fiancés, they had started expressing a desire to leave or starting using the D word, that divorce word. Nothing worse for a controlling, narcissistic man who's been abusing his spouse or girlfriend for years to hear is that I'm going to break up with you, or divorce word, or I'm going home to my family. And in most of the cases of the women that I put up during our theme song, My Life Mattered, they had just expressed a desire to leave their domestic partner, to leave the person that was abusing them. In this case with Mallory, her domestic partner, they weren't together anymore. Major Harris's biological father was ruled out as a suspect very early on. He was in a different state. So this isn't your typical, like I said, this isn't the MO of a domestic violence case. But if Mallory and Jaheim were any type of a relationship at all, then it could be considered DV if he was the one that unalived her. Because I said, for me, everything I've read and what I've seen, I don't know for sure. I can't make a decision. I've told Mary Jo and her family that I'm very confused by this case. This case has a lot of moving parts. Why was Mallery in Milwaukee? Why did she take Jaheim if she was going into a dangerous situation? I mean, why did she take Major Harris with her if she was going into a dangerous situation? Why didn't she tell anyone in her family or friends where she was going so that at least someone could have known where she was? I mean, there's just so many unanswered questions that the family has, that I have, and that I feel that the police could answer for us if they would have met with us like they had told us they were going to do. So I would like to try to bring Mary up here. We'll see if we can get her audio. Hi, Mary. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can.
That's good.
It's very good to see you again.
You too.
And I'm just incredibly sorry and sad that you have had to go through this kind of tragedy and trauma in what was just your normal life. Your lives were normal like all the rest of our lives. You had a child, you had a grandchild, everything was going along. You know, we all have difficulties in life. Mallery was having a lot of difficulties in life, and some of those were raining down on you because you were her loving family, her loving parents. There was difficulties with the biological father of her child. They didn't get along. There were some restraining orders. There were bad words. There were arguments. But many people's families have that, but they don't end up resulting in a homicide of the daughter and of the grandchild like yours. So yours went to a level that's extreme, that's horrific. And again, I am so incredibly sorry for you, and I have so much sympathy for you. So we started this out. We met probably close to 6 months ago already now. It seems like it was yesterday in some ways that I met you, but
yeah, it's actually been a long time.
I think it's been a while. We've read a ton of police reports together. We've read autopsy reports together. We've cried together, and we've live streamed many times together. And recently, just so I can let the audience know, her husband, Mary, what's your husband's name again? I'm so sorry.
Paul.
Mark, right?
Paul.
Oh, Paul. Yes, Paul, of course. We put together, between the three of us, we have put together a question list that just questions that as we went through the case, like, you know, who, what, where, when, why, how. And we've done this for 6 months, and we've gone over these police reports, the autopsy reports, the investigation of what little there was into Mallery's death and your grandson's death. And we came up with a really big list of questions. So I asked Mary and her husband, Paul, if it would be okay. Oh, hi, Ida Lee. I would love for Ida Lee to weigh in on this. She's been through so much herself. She will be helpful as we go through the question list. Let me ask her if she wants to weigh in on the stage. Ida Lee, you're there. Do you want to type in the chat box if you want to come up on the stage with us and listen in with Mary and I and give us your opinion on these questions that we have? And if you want to just hang in the green room and listen, that's okay too. You just let me know, Ida Lee. So Mary and Paul and I have come up with a list of questions that we have about the investigation into the deaths of her daughter and her grandson. So I asked their permission if I could contact the Milwaukee Police Department and find out if the lead detective on the case, was still working for MPD. When I was working in Madison for UWPD, I had some joint efforts with Milwaukee police. A lot of times police departments will collaborate and they'll work together on different things: crime prevention, volunteerism, good works, we'll work together. I worked with many Milwaukee police officers on the Special Olympics torch run for Special Olympics that we did every year in June. We would go to the state games in Stevens Point, Wisconsin, and we would all take turns running or biking or walking a certain distance between Madison and Stevens Point, which is roughly hour and a half. And we would have squad cars following all these people all along the route. And you could pledge, people would pledge how far you walked, ran, or biked. And then that money would go to Special Olympics. So I've had a lot of great connections with MPD. So I said to Mary, let me call Milwaukee detectives, see if I can speak to someone. And they were great. They put me right through. I was able to speak to a detective who was not the lead detective because that person is now no longer with Milwaukee, but he was one of the detectives. He knew a lot about what happened in this situation with this death investigation. So I explained to him that I've been working with the family, that they still have a lot of questions. And he asked me, well, what is it that you do exactly? And I said, well, I work with the families to help them get exposure, to help them come and live stream with friends and other family who care about their person's plight and the death of their loved one, and who want justice that they feel they didn't get, or even if it's not justice, but it's answers to their questions, and a platform for them to have these talks and to have empathy and to have someone listening to them and sharing their horrific event that happened to their family member. Mary, I'm getting a spinning wheel, so let me know if you can still hear me. Sometimes when that happens, you have to sign out and sign back in. So I'll give her a minute for her wheel to stop moving here. So I contacted this detective and we had a text conversation, and then I actually spoke with him. He took my calls and I was telling him some of my concerns, and he was letting me know that Milwaukee police feel that they did everything they could to help the Clark family, the family of Major Harris, and Mallory's family, to answer all their questions and to help them understand. Yeah, we lost Mary, so hopefully she'll stream back in here in a second. I'm not sure if Ida Lee wants to come on yet or not. I don't see her face yet, so I'm going to wait until she lets me know. So it's frustrating because I'm trying to be respectful as I possibly can to the Milwaukee police detective, but I'm also explaining to him that the family cannot move on. They're still grieving because they have so many questions. They don't understand some of the turns and twists that your investigation took and how you landed where you landed with the investigation. And if they could just have answers to those questions, or just simply, you explaining the case better to them, then they could try to get over that hump that the families have to get over to move on into the next phase of grieving. When you don't know for sure why your loved one was taken from you, when you don't understand why they're not here anymore, the grieving process halts. It comes to like a standstill, and you're just in this limbo place, and it's not a good place, and it overwhelms you. It takes over you. I've seen it happen with almost every family I have advocated with and for the past year and a half. Most of these cases don't have any closure. There's no justice for their person. The police are no longer either actively investigating, or their investigation is stymied, halted, for lack of better words. And it's a terrible place to be. It's the worst kind of limbo that you could ever imagine for these families. So I wanted to at least get a meeting with the Milwaukee detective for Mary and Paul's, to meet with them and to go over our question list. So to be transparent and fair to the detective, I'll check. I think Mary's trying to reach out to. Oh, her computer just shut off. Okay. Well, why don't you call me, Mary? Oh, her computer shut off. Let me text her. Stand by a second, everybody. I will be right back. I'm going to text her to just call me. And hi, Ida Lee. And we will. Let me bring Ida Lee up here too while we're waiting for device not connected. Okay. So let's try. Let me tell her that she should call me, and then I'll just bring her on with voice only. Thanks, everybody. Just stand by. Take a stretch break. Yeah, technology it's a beautiful thing when it works, and it's not when it doesn't work. It sucks. And especially when you're trying to live stream with guests. When I'm just on here all by myself and I have tech issues, it's fine. I deal with them. The audience usually copes with it the best that we can. But when I have guests, I don't like having tech issues, because I want the guests to have a good experience and be able to talk and vent with us and share their what they need to share. So
Hey there, can you hear me?
Hi, Ida Lee. I just brought you on the stage.
Hey.
Yes, ma'am. Hey, great to see you. Great to hear you. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I think we're all as well as we can be, given the trauma dump that has been put on all of us the last week, with these
Valid.
Epstein, not, just horrific events that were going on, and many people knew about it and did nothing.
Yeah, that is valid. I live
Oh,
it daily.
I know you do. I'm just getting Mary Jo back on. We lost her on the camera, so hang on. Okay, I've got you back, Mary Jo, on audio.
Okay, we've never ever had this happen before. And all of a sudden, it just said it's locked. Our computer's locked. And while we were listening, I don't get this.
Whoa. Okay, Ida Lee might have an idea, because we're talking about, when I'm surprised it hasn't happened to me, because I'm always talking about crime and corruption, but that's just kind of weird, isn't it, Ida Lee?
Yeah, for sure.
I know you've had strange things happen to you when you try to talk about these cases and the problems you've had with the Canton police and Stoughton police.
Strange is a kind word. It is more subversive things happen to me, but yeah, certainly.
Yes, I know. Strange is a kind word. I agree, because it's nefarious and it's literally criminal, the things
Absolutely. And whom, if anyone, in the words of Adam Lally, will investigate these things, because it's not going to be the police in Massachusetts.
No, they're not going to do it. They're definitely not. I mean, first of all, Mary Jo, can you hear us okay?
Hi, Mary.
You guys.
Okay, good.
We've never had this happen before, ever.
Well,
it was weird.
Wild.
It is weird. But for now, we're good with your voice. Everybody, can you hear her okay, Ida Lee?
Absolutely.
Great. I've got you on speaker. I've got you right up by my speaker. So, Ida Lee, I know you know a little bit about the case that I've been, covering with Mary and her husband, the death of their dear daughter and grandson. So I know you know a little bit about it, and I kind of was giving everybody the background of it so that those that are with us for the first time can, remember what exactly we were talking about. Was that it was, again, it's very concerning to me that when I talked to the detective and I said, we have this list of questions, and if you could answer them for us, it would help the family so much to move into this next phase of grieving and acceptance that they have to get to. But when you have so many questions and you're constantly saying, wait a minute, why did that happen? Or why didn't they call this person? Or why wasn't this person interviewed? Why wasn't this person a person of interest? If your natural brain is going there, most people are smart, we're intelligent people. That is a concern. And then the family just can't move to the next level where they have to be in order to continue to move on with their lives and accept this the best way they can. You're never, ever going to get over it. Nobody gets over the death of a loved one, even when they die of natural causes. We don't get over someone you loved being gone. You learn to cope. You learn to cope without them being daily present in your life to the best of your ability. And if you're a faithful person, then you use God and prayer and whatever, you have your friends and your other family members, but you're never going to be the same. And I know this because I lost my father to cancer when he was only 41 years old and I was 19. Oh. So I have empathy for people losing family members more than most people do, because I had to go through it at such a very young age, and it changes you in ways that you can't describe to anyone else. So this is where we're at we're stuck now.
We don't even know if they had their phone. It had Mallory's phone. I mean, pings on the phone would be like huge. All they ever told us was they don't think. Mallory had sent a text to Paul on the 13th. They found her on the 14th. And all they ever told us was that they don't think Mallory sent that text to Paul. Why? We don't know. We don't know if they even had her phone. They will not even answer that question.
Have you filed public records requests in regards to it? Or, I mean, I went the route of just having the attitude where I maybe very Pollyanna attitude that I assumed everyone had the best intentions. And that certainly wasn't the case with what I'm going through. And I asked the questions initially, and it was either some kind of obstruction, plausible deniability, non response. And then when I started filing blatant public records requests in regards to the situation, I experienced like active retaliation from what we're supposed to be investigating.
We've tried. We have tried. I mean, we've got what we got is unredacted record or redacted records, I should say. I've called there. You know, they just will not. I called many times, crying. I called everywhere, and they just once Major was found, all I was getting was the case is closed. The case is closed.
Yeah.
And it provided us with an exuberant amount of information, which they have not.
Exactly. They
Well,
led idly.
What
They led
state are
me
you in? I'm sorry. So, like, maybe it's
Wisconsin.
Okay, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
As far as I understand, in Massachusetts, once that the case is closed, if you will, they are under public records law. There's exemptions for open, active investigations, but once that they throw that out the window, you are entitled to all of that. That's, how you get those transcripts and all the stuff from trials and whatnot. But once they put the stamp on it legally and say, well, this is closed now, you are actively entitled to all those records. Like our tax dollars have paid for those, and you are entitled to them.
Correct. And
I think that was in December of 2024. The different stamps that I seen on that stuff was December, because they will not give us Major's DNA, and we do not know why they will not give us Major's DNA. I just don't understand. I mean, why you cannot give a family closure? But they had those records sealed. But I think December 2024 is when that was supposed to be up.
Right, because it makes zero sense. I mean, if they're claiming that this is the person, this is Jaheim Clark, they're claiming that Mallery went to Milwaukee to see him for a potential drug deal, let's, for lack of a better way to phrase it, and that he was going, either she was selling him drugs or he was selling her drugs. They've never told me. I have never seen that in a police report at all. But the family of Jaheim Clark says that he would never have hurt anyone, that he was not a violent person. And it takes a special kind of evil to unalive a 3-year-old he was at the time, Major Harris? 4?
Yeah.
4-year-old. I mean,
he would have been 4 in December.
Right. So if Jaheim Clark had no history of any type of violence to anyone, much less a child, why in the world a 4-year-old child is not going to witness?
No.
Is not going to have any way to witness something where he could speak out against you or to hurt you. I mean, it just.
Well, I think there is the radical truth that children speak. I mean, a child would say, I saw this, and not have the ability.
He was not clear verbally speaking. He was seeing during the Amber Alert 2 days after Mallery was found. He was seeing in Milwaukee at a residence, and it was never followed up on.
So this is part of one of our questions that we have on the list, and I'm gonna read the list here to you in a few minutes. We're gonna go over each question one by one that we compiled for the detective, and we shared, to be transparent, I shared this list with the detective, and he rescheduled our one meeting because he said he needed more time because we had more questions than he anticipated, which was understandable. And we said, that's fine. We'll reschedule for after the holidays. So then we were supposed to meet with him in early January. And I got a text from him the day before our meeting that his chain of command for lack of a better way to put it, said that he could not meet with us. And that if I wanted answers to all my questions, I would have to file a Freedom of Information Act.
Radical. Isn't it wild how they can withhold this information from people whose life is dependent on it? And like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've experienced similar stuff where information I am absolutely rightfully entitled to.
Right.
And I basically, from the police department, have got some kind of weird obstructionist response in regards to public records requests.
Yeah.
I mean, frankly, my faith in the police department is vastly diminished, and since the whole Sandra Birchmore situation, and
Right.
I quite wonder the structure and application of these laws daily.
Yeah.
When I file a public records request where I know that I'm rightfully entitled to this information, or even I've gone the roundabout way where I'll file it anonymously, and I can
Oh, you broke.
obstruct me, but when I go about it in a way that is anonymous, they're still being obstructionist. It actually speaks volumes into what the police are up to. Like with Sandra Birchmore, that is not just about one girl that was groomed by one man. They were trafficking that girl. That has a very broad implications for the police. So, who is overseeing them in a capacity to ensure that they aren't manipulating situations to protect themselves, right? Like with Sandra, one girl, she gets impregnated, and I know all these people factually. They know what's going on, and they for whatever personal motive they have, they're obstructing the situation, which is
Right. And this
personally
is
impacting me, which is personally impacting my children beyond that one situation.
right.
Um, um, and
And I thought
for
of
that
you.
matter, when they make those things secrets,
Yes.
when they bury those secrets, like truth persists. So there is no way to bury it. And basically, it leads to our tax dollars being spent by bad actors retaliating against people that just want answers, just want clarity.
Right. And here's the thing. I thought of, when I first met you, Mary, I thought of Ida's situation too, with all the back and forth she's had with the police and not always answering her questions and treating her like she's crazy, calling her crazy and treating her
Oh,
like, she's making stuff up, conspiracy theories. Well, Jaheim Clark's family, they questioned his death to the police. They said he would never have unalived himself. So prove to me beyond a shadow of a doubt that he actually did unalive himself. Where I
right.
want to see that, right? Because what if he didn't? What if the person who
I don't think he did.
Right, you don't think he did, his family doesn't think he did. What if the person who actually did unalive your daughter and your grandchild is still out there? That oh yes, Mary will be talking. No worries, Dottie. I just Ida Lee's going to be on with me later, but I'm having her listen in, so because she's been through a lot of this. So we lost Mary's camera, so we had to go to voice only, and I'm going to be getting to all of the questions that we wrote up and shared with the detective. And I'm going to pull that up right now. And then Mary is going to help us understand why they have all these questions.
Yes.
Give me a second to pull up our question list.
I have all of them in front of me.
Good.
Love it.
All right.
None of it made any sense. We tried to give Milwaukee police the benefit of the doubt on everything. We totally,
I did
we
the
didn't
same.
push
Yes.
like we should have back then, and now we cannot get any answers.
I think part of it is you approach it in a very trusting way. And I did that too. And mind you, my situation is, maybe mildly different. Like I was romantically involved with some of these gentlemen. So I mean, I frankly trusted them with my life. And when I started kind of asking questions, and just like in a very general probative way, like, oh, hey, are you using school, like asking for the contract of the school resource officers, just that. And I mean, that's a public contract. They absolutely have to provide that to me. That was very triggering for them. And um, instantly caused them, because of their own culpability in the matter, to create chaos around the circumstances, to like, obscure the situation, and create a little time, buy themselves a bit of time.
I'm
um
Idly, I'm going to remove, I'm going to add, I'm going to try to share my screen. I hope this doesn't mess us up because StreamYard's
yeah,
been
go
acting
ahead.
very wacky. So I'm going to try to share my screen, everybody, so I can bring up the question list that Mary and Paul and I compiled. So give me just a second to do that. That way I can kind of, I don't know how if you guys will be able to see it like I hope you can, but I'm going to try. So let me see. You guys will have to let me know if you can see it or not. Well,
Yes.
The one person that had, I mean, everything tied to got immunity on this case.
and that's a problem, that's one of the problems.
I mean, immunity is a problem. The qualified immunity generally, I mean, my ex-boyfriend whose buddies were trafficking a girl, I called them all out on it. And everybody who's dipped into my life and frankly ruined my whole life, my marriage, they've interfered with my children, all of these actors, these bad actors in the same town who were all drinking underage with all of us in the woods, or buying us alcohol when we were underage and they weren't. Their position is qualified immunity, whether even down to the guardian ad litem in my case in probate is like, oh well, yes, she's known all of these garbage humans that are doing these horrific acts for her whole life, but well, she's got quasi judicial immunity. So what are you gonna do about it, lady? I mean, that's the response. Is like, so
Well, I
sad.
think part of
Too
the
bad.
problem is that when police work with informants, or when police are involved in your personal life, they were in yours, there's going to be a lot of issues. So with this case obviously is quite different than what you're dealing with, and we're gonna get into all of your stuff in the next hour. So I'm gonna transition back over into the question list that I have that we have compiled, and go down it with you guys. And so the detectives in the case, we listed on the top of the page so that the detective could be reminded of who was involved at the time, since this is now over almost 5 years now. Are we at 4 or 5? Almost 5
It's
years.
going on 5.
Yeah.
2021 was October 2021.
So whenever there's obviously the death of someone, and in this case, two people, there's always going to be a theater of players involved. So, I mean, somebody just doesn't, unless they take their own life, there's going to be people involved in how they got to where they were and why were they where they were. And the whole who, what, where, when, why, how involves Carlton Harris II, and that is the biological father of Major Harris. Obviously, Paul and Mary Jo, the parents of Mallery. Obviously, Mallery herself, one of the victims, and her child, Major Harris. And then Jaheim Clark and his involvement, we're not completely clear. Why was he even involved? Why was Mallery at his house? There's so many questions. And Robert Williams, a friend of Jaheim Clark, allegedly, is the person was given immunity because he claimed that he knew where the body of your grandchild was on the 16th, and he had Mallory's car at a laundromat on the 14th with a female. Right, with a female companion. So the day that it happened, this Robert Williams had Mallory's car. So he had to know what happened to her. And
Yes.
And who is this female companion? Did we ever search that out? Did we ever find that out, Mary, when we were going through all the police reports?
Some Cheyenne that he picked up to go do laundry or something, that needed to go do laundry, and according to the police records. But
again, that makes absolutely no sense.
Nothing makes sense to this. If you look at the whole thing, they get called at 6 o'clock in the morning on the 14th, and they cannot identify the person. How do they know the person has a car to begin with? I mean, really? So, but this person has Mallory's car on the 14th. How? And in the records, it says that I'm sorry, I'm getting upset, but in the records, it says that, there was nothing else in the car. They could not get Mallery in the car. There was nothing in the car, this Robert Williams keeps saying. But somehow, there's blood in the car that they're saying, that they won't say whose it is. How did he get there? Because they couldn't get Mallery in the car, apparently. And there was nothing else in the car. So when did this tow come about that that he says that he hit this tow with Jaheim? Where did it come about? There's never once what he ever said there was ever a tow in the car.
Well, one of their statements that doesn't make a lot of sense at all is Mallery was found in the backyard of Jaheim's mother's house. What kind of a criminal, what kind of a person who's going to unalive someone is going to leave her in the backyard of his mother's house when he actually has a car, her car, that he could have then put her body in? This is harsh talk. I hate this kind of talk, but we have to talk like this to break it down, right? So
I get it.
If he killed her in a fit of rage or anger, okay, you're going to tell me that he's just going to leave her body in his mother's backyard, and then he doesn't think he's going to be the primary suspect? You would think that he would, in most cases, when people panic and commit a crime they didn't mean to commit and unalive someone when they didn't have plans to, they try to hide it. Even husbands, as we well know, with all the women we've been advocating for, Suzanne Clark Simpson, Suzanne Morphew, Sandra Birchmore was framed for her own unaliving. Suzanne Ellen Greenberg was framed for her own unaliving. They supposedly, these men all did this in a fit of rage and that it wasn't premeditated, but yet they had the presence of mind to make sure that they don't get caught. So you're going to tell me that
well, not only that, the presence of mind to make sure they don't get caught, and then suspiciously, their buddies that are LEOs are either wildly incompetent at their jobs, or they or they're willfully malicious. It's one of two options, and I think that's kind of like what I have found is like malintent. And
Right.
I honestly have questioned a lot the manner in which courts are not so much able to like adjudicate the evidence, but the manner in which evidence is revealed, right? So there's a murder, and did you get that police officer's full text history? And are you providing that as evidence, and not just to the prosecutor or the defendant, but like the family that has been impacted by this, Sandra's family? In my case, like I dated somebody involved with this. I've been searching for this information. I've said, here are the issues, and are they requesting the evidence that would help clear this up? Or is it the district attorney saying, well, I get to decide what evidence is requested, I get to decide what evidence is adjudicated?
Well, exactly. And in this case, I have a concern that why were they so quick to give this Robert Williams immunity? Was he an informant for them? Is he someone they've used in other cases in Milwaukee? Right? I mean,
I think, sorry, let me
I
just
just have
interject
all these.
really quick, is that you should definitely read the Boston Globe. Actually did a great they're doing some great work in regards to the confidential informant system and how it's applied. And basically what they've uncovered thus far is that it is.
Hang on a second. Hang on a second, Idly. Mary has a question for you. Go ahead, Mary.
What does a person do when this stuff happens? When there's an informant? When there's what? I mean, what can we do? I called everybody back then. I called the FBI. I literally called the FBI. I called the CSI. I called the state bar to find a lawyer that, could fight this.
I've done that. Yeah.
What can a person do?
So I want to walk this back just a second.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second. So now my screen's doing all those wacky things that it does when I go off of screen share. There's the live stream just likes to do crazy things to me sometimes when I go from screen share back to regular share. So now I'm just trying to put us both. Well, I guess it's fine. We can just be on with our voices. What I wanted to say is that what I was mainly concerned with when I first learned about what happened to Mallery and Major Harris, and that the man that they believed is the one who unalived them was Jaheim Clark, the person that she came to Milwaukee to meet for whatever reason, whether it was to buy drugs or sell drugs, or was Mallery an informant? Was Mallery working with the police to try to bring down a drug ring in Milwaukee because she had gotten involved somehow? These are some of the questions on the list, because again, why would Jaheim, in a fit of rage, shoot Mallery twice in the head and leave her in his mother's backyard? The stupidest criminal on the planet wouldn't even do this. And I don't think Jaheim was stupid. No, at all. And then in some of the police reports that you read with me, Mary, and that I read on my own, where this supposed informant was saying that, oh, well, we tried to get Mallory's body in the car so we could move her away from Jaheim's mother's house, but she was too heavy. We couldn't lift her in the car. So wait a minute, informant, you're telling me that Mallory's body was too heavy to lift in an SUV, but yet she wasn't too heavy to drag back and put her back in the mother's backyard?
I mean, this is the fundamental problem with confidential information.
Wait, hang on a second, Mary, because you're on the phone, so you can't see when Ida starts talking, and you're on my phone, so she can't see when you start talking. So I let me do the moderation here between the two of you. So Mary, go ahead, and then we'll have Etta Lee make a comment. Go ahead, Mary.
Supposedly, okay, so there was blood on there was blood on Jaheim's bed. And so that's why they think Jaheim's the one that did it. And so supposedly what this Robert Williams is saying is that he's waited in the car while Jaheen took Mallery from his room all the way down the steps, out the backyard, and then all of a sudden Robert Williams looked out the window and saw that he had Mallery laying there. So they tried to put her in the back seat of the car, back of the car, but they could not lift her. But Jaheen carried her all the way down. Yes. And there was blood in the back of the car. If they couldn't get in the back of the car, who the hell's blood was that in the back of the car? And why would they not give us DNA on it?
Right. Exactly. If there was blood in the back of the car, it was either Major Harris, your grandson's, or it was your daughter's. And why, if this case is closed, if they are so positive that Jaheen Clark killed your daughter and your grandchild, then why can't you know everything there is to know about the investigation?
Literally, that's it.
The only reason why police don't share police reports and why they send you only redacted police reports when a case is open is because they're concerned that the public will become mini detectives and try to solve the cases on their own, which is what they accused Michelle of doing down here in Florida with Sarah Ebersol. Yeah. So if
and God forbid the public sees the facts. How about that?
Exactly. And but I also understand it. Okay, I was a police officer. I understand that you have to protect the integrity of the case. That's understandable.
But if the case is concluded, what are you protecting?
Exactly.
I mean, frankly, the confidential informant program is a cesspool. Is somebody a lifelong confidential informant? Is that a line of work where you just like work for the police as a nefarious person? Because I feel like maybe that should be limited like to one case. Do you need confidentiality in regards to this case? Or are you allowed to be a free range criminal? Like, I don't know, Whitey Bulger, as long as you just rat out everybody below you. Do you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Because then you lead to these super toxic situations which consume the entire community under the guise that they're protecting a confidential informant who's committing extensive amounts of crimes against members of the community, and not being held to account because they're giving the police like tiny small wins while crime is being allowed to flourish. I mean, the entire state, I mean, even the fruition of confidential informant programs, it's been toxic since the get-go, since day one of that, and since day one of WITSEC. It's been, people will lie. People will absolutely lie to get out of accountability. And doing that leads them to set other people up, leads them to not give partial information, incomplete information. And then the police are able to veil all of that and say, well, this is an ongoing investigation, or, manipulate it because they are the holder of fact. They decide what is relevant, what is not relevant. And they're perfectly situated to manufacture whatever they want to manufacture to suit their narrative.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
hang on a second. I'm going to pull up an interview with Jaheen's family. They absolutely did not believe that he would have done this, that he didn't have a violent history. And I mean, it's one thing, people that, unfortunately get addicted to drugs and then they sell drugs to their friends. It's one thing to be involved with drug addiction and to be involved with that level of criminality, but to take a level of actually unaliving someone, that's a whole different level. And especially where there's a child involved in this situation.
A 4-year-old child.
Exactly.
Really.
So I'm going to play this clip of the interview with his family. So give me just a second, everyone, to bring that up. right. Can you guys see that? Is that coming up on the screen?
Yes.
Okay, hang on. This is probably a commercial, so just bear with us on the commercial part of it.
Way to clear out stuck poop.
The number one
And of course,
food for
these
regular
commercials are so
BMs, huh?
gross.
Okay.
Members of the man named as a
You
person
guys
of
hear that
interest in
okay?
the death of Mallery Muenzenberger and the disappearance of Major Harris, they're speaking out.
Jaheim Clark's family is disputing his connection to the case and questioning his cause of death. Aaron Maben is live in Milwaukee with more on their message.
Well, Ben and Gabrielle, Jaheim Clark is the only person the Milwaukee Police Department has named as a person of interest in the Mallery Muenzenberger Major Harris case. Tonight, family members of Clark say they do not believe that he had any role in their death. They are questioning a lot, including how he died.
I want my son's name to be clear.
For the first time, Jaheim Clark's family is speaking out. Last month, Clark was named a person of interest in the death of Mallery Muenzenberger and disappearance of her 3-year-old son, Major Harris.
I don't think they did a thorough investigation before they named him as a suspect.
Clark's mother, LaShonda Lee, says Muenzenberger was found shot to death in the backyard of her home on October 14th. Clark also lived at the home.
What sense does it make to kill someone and leave them in your own backyard?
When police learned of Major Harris, an Amber Alert was issued. Clark was named a person of interest. Lee says she talked with her son over the phone during the manhunt.
He told me that he knows who did it, but he couldn't say anything because they knew where I lived at.
Jaheim told you he knew who had killed Mallery
I
and
think
Major?
he knew too much or he saw too much and his life was in danger.
Police say Clark died by suicide as they closed in on his location near 41st and Custer. While family disputes the death, the medical examiner's office says he suffered a single contact gunshot wound to the head and ruled the death a suicide.
He wasn't in any gangs. He didn't sell any drugs.
Family is not sure how Clark knew Muenzenberger or Major, who was also found dead.
We just want some answers. Everything is not adding up.
At that press conference, family members of Clark said that he had trauma on his body, but this afternoon, the medical examiner's office says that was not the case. There was no trauma on his body. Tonight, the Milwaukee Police Department continues to investigate this case. Reporting live in Milwaukee tonight, Aaron Maben, Fox 6 News.
Aaron, thank you.
This is the. Hang on a second.
So trust me, bro. That's what that sounds like. That sounds like the Canton police. Trust
Hang on,
me,
hang on
bro.
a second. I gotta shut this thing off a second. Hang on. There we go. Yeah, exactly. Ida Lee, exactly. Trust me, bro. I'm telling you guys, I don't like anything to do with Mallory's death or Major's death. I don't. Oh, I lost Mary. Hang on, Mary. I think she's trying to come back in. Let me put her in the stage here. There she is. Okay, you're back. I don't like anything about this case. So first of all, like his mother said, they jumped to him as the only suspect. They closed this case within a week of finding your grandchild. This is so similar to Ellen Greenberg, where this is my opinion, YouTube. Ellen Greenberg was unalived by her fiance, and he framed her for her own unaliving. It is not uncommon. Sandra Birchmore was framed for her own unaliving. It is not uncommon for nefarious characters to make it look like the person unalived themselves. Wow. How do we know that this person didn't make it look like Jaheim unalived himself?
How do we get police to have to provide this information, right? Once an investigation is closed, you legally, like how kind of laws are structured now, like the investigation is closed, it's free for all in terms of public records, right? Well, when that information is not turned over, why? Were you using a confidential informant and their entire existence is based on reporting crime to you? Are you budgeting criminals? I mean, that is a huge part of this is, at least in this kind of circumstance up here in New England and in Norfolk County is that kind of that scapegoat. And it's very easy when the person that is supposedly responsible is dead, right? If it's Sandra that killed herself, game over, story done. Well, then give me all of Matthew Farwell's text messages. Give me
Well,
Billy
Idly,
Farwell's text messages because his his brother-in-law's harassing me. Like, if this is so conclusive,
right.
why are you gatekeeping all of this other information?
And Idly, these cases are spread out all over the country. So these type of nefarious behaviors have
It's
happened.
pathological.
It's been right, and it's been proved they've happened. So how do we know this didn't happen in Milwaukee with Mallory's case? You've got
It
the Ellen Greenberg case. We know for a fact that the
Oh my
medical
God.
examiner
Awful.
we know for a fact the medical examiner was coerced. We absolutely know it now for a fact.
I mean, beyond that, I think you listen to that 911 call, and any police officer that isn't immediately triggered into like an investigative mode just from the 911 call.
right.
I'm not sure you should be a police officer. Like, did this woman like I mean, that was one of the most egregious things. I mean,
When I first talked to Mary, and you started telling me all these things that were going on with this case, we've got the baby daddy who was abusive at one time or another, had a restraining order against him at one time or another. We've got Jaheim Clark, who we barely know anything about. We barely know or understand why Mallory went to Milwaukee. Why did she go there to meet him? What was she doing there? Why did she take her son with her when she could have left him with you or with another family member?
were you ever provided access to her communications at all?
Hang on a second, Idly. Hold that question. Just let me get through this little train of rant that I'm on.
Sure.
No, it's okay. We have all this sort of behavior that we don't have answers to, and that the police didn't seem to want to provide answers to. But just because a medical examiner now tells me that it was this or it was that, after seeing all the nefarious nonsense and criminality that I've seen in the police departments with these different cases all around the country, I am not inclined to automatically believe the medical examiner that Jaheim Clark used the weapon to unalive himself. It's very possible that the person that was behind all this took Jaheim's life as well and made it look like he took his own life, because we know it's possible to do that. We know it's possible for nefarious people to make it look like someone unalived themselves when they did not.
According to the records, I mean, this is in the records, the person's house that he was at.
Well, you froze up a little bit. We'll give you a second to come back on. She's freezing on us, guys. So we'll give her internet a chance to circle. It's probably circling. She may have to come out and go back in. But I think you guys can understand why I have concerns that this case was literally tidied up, not really investigated. As Jaheim's mother said in her own words, there was no other person of interest other than her son, no other suspect other than her son. Why did they rush to close this case? Why does a case ever have to be rushed to be closed? Unless you have a confession or you have an actual video camera, surveillance camera of somebody unaliving someone else, or you have a witness who witnessed the unaliving of that person, then why would you rush to close a case? Why would you close a case in less than a week? A double homicide, not just one person's unaliving, but two people, and one of them
child's homicide, not a child's homicide.
Exactly. And the child was seen days after Mallory was found, still alive, and his description fit his description by a neighbor. And I'm going to let Mary, because she can be more precise with this, because she actually spoke to the people that called the police and said, hey, there's a child across the street, and we don't even know if anyone lives in that house, and men are getting out of cars, and this child looks lost and scared, and we don't understand what's going on. Mary, I'm gonna let, are you back with us verbally?
Mary, have you gone to the Epstein files database and typed in the word Milwaukee?
No.
I mean, honestly, it was a little stunning for me. I mean, I knew kind of like with Sandra Birchmore, it was kind of related to that kind of cesspool. I didn't realize like the level of cesspool it was until I didn't even deep dive into that.
Okay.
You're breaking up a little bit, Ida Lee.
Okay, I just want to read from the files, the records right here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just great. And this would be great because this was something I wanted to cover last time we spoke, that there was actually a witness who saw your grandchild on a Milwaukee street with 3 men in front of a house that nobody really knew for sure anyone lived in, and what was done with that information. And that is on our
but
yes,
this
is,
this
right.
is
That's
actually,
on our question list.
This is actually at the house where Jahim, where this happened to Jahim. It says that this person stated that they observed him run into the bathroom and suddenly heard a gunshot. And then they stated that they ran towards the back door and heard a second gunshot.
Whoops. Are you there?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yep.
And then they stated that they ran out the back door and heard additional shots and then made contact with the officers who detained them. Okay, how many gunshots was that? And they heard the one, they ran into the bathroom, suddenly heard a gunshot, and then they ran towards the back door, heard a second gun.
Oh, I think we froze. Are you still there? Well, hang on, everybody. We got to freeze. Sometimes the internet doesn't always cooperate. We lost Ida Lee to a freeze, and now Mary, you are on a freeze. So I'm gonna remove you for a second because sometimes that helps you can reboot better they can reboot better when they're in the green room opposed to being live, because there's so much going on the live stream. It's pulling so much energy, and I'm not super techie. I'm a little techie thanks to my sister who used to work for IBM. She taught me pretty much everything I know, plus just constant use. So when you're live streaming, they usually ask you to close down all your windows. Make sure you don't have any extra windows open. Like I'm going to close down that window now that I had the YouTube, had the channel up, the Milwaukee News, because that's like taking energy from my computer that we need to live stream. So Ida Lee, if you guys can still hear me, and Mary, make sure you don't have any other tabs open, because that can really cause your wheel to spin. It can cause you to pop in and out of the live streams. It happens sometimes with guests who don't go on as frequently as I do. I get kind of used to how to troubleshoot this. So I'm going to leave her off the stage for right now. Ida Lee, hopefully we'll get back in. And this is, like I said, very concerning. The fact that there were witnesses that saw Major Harris 2 days after Mallory's body was found. And the description was, for me, it was definitely him. I think anyone, and I know they believe it was him, Mary, Joe, and her husband, Paul. It was spot on. And it was from a woman who lived across the street, who had never seen that child on that street before, got the ick feeling. And that's the whole see something, say something. And if you're wrong, you're wrong. But if a woman's life or a child's life is saved because you got the ick feeling and you knew something wasn't right and you were feeling it and it wasn't right and you made that call to the police, then good. If it turns out to be a nothing burger and it's not the same, it's not the child, he wasn't in danger, then okay, he's not in danger, it's not the child. But what if it was? What if the woman, and then she was afraid. So, hang on, I think Mary's trying to call me. Oh, it says I'm backstage. Okay, hang on, let me bring you back up. I'm just trying to work out. There we go. Okay, there you are. Can you hear me? I think you're still frozen. I think you're going to have to go out and come back in. this is just the internet. Sometimes it does wonky things for you on your end. So it's probably best if you completely go out and come back in, Mary Jo. And I'll just keep giving filler background information because I know what you're going to read to us is going to irritate a lot of people.
Hello?
And it was, oh, there you are. We've got you back.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay, we got you back. So I was just telling everybody that he was definitely, that in my opinion, that was him that woman saw. The description was absolutely him. And I was telling everybody how she got that ick feeling that sometimes we've all gotten, and we couldn't decide if we should call for help or call the police or not. And we rationalize it. Sometimes we rationalize it like, oh, I'm overreacting. I don't want to bother. I don't want to get people in trouble. That's one of the number one things people say. I don't want to call the police because I don't want to get people in trouble. And some people have had such bad experiences with the police that they're afraid of the police themselves. So they're afraid if they call the police that something could happen to someone. So there's all these reasons why people don't call the police. So from what I recall from our conversation, the woman who saw what I believe was Major Harris across the street from her house, she was afraid to call the police. So she called her daughter, correct? Only her daughter was in freaking Germany, right? Oh,
hello.
Are you there?
I'm here.
So her daughter was in Germany. The woman who lived across the street from this house called her daughter, correct?
Correct. Do you want me to read what it says from the records?
Yes, because I was trying to fill everybody in while we were waiting for you to unfreeze. So now what we've got, the situation is a woman witnessed a child across the street from her house. She got the ick. She didn't like it. She called her daughter in Germany. And then her daughter in Germany, take it from there.
Okay. There was a lady that called from Germany to say her mom had called her the day before when the Amber Alert was going on, saying there was three black men gave the address, house of a vacant lot. The men were observed on 10/16 at approximately 3:30, talking out front of the house. One left, two stayed. 10 minutes later, one of the two men that stayed got a phone call and left in a white car. 5 to 10 minutes later, both of those men returned in the same car with a little boy, light skin, wearing a dark gray jacket and dark blue shorts. They didn't leave the house all night. Lights on all night with the blinds shut. The person said the little boy did not belong there. It did say that the District 5 was called to have someone go check out. Said the squad car responded to the house. No answer. They said that they would come back later. But there was nothing ever in the record saying they ever went back later. They could have done DNA. They could have done many things to find out. They could have gone back. It was a vacant lot. They could have stormed the house. They came to our house 10:30 at night. They went through every closet, under every bed, down in our woodshed, up in our chicken coop. They searched our house completely at 10:30 at night. We were the ones that said he was missing.
Exactly. You were treated like suspects right out of the gate, but yet this woman called in as a good Samaritan regarding seeing this child, and it doesn't sound like they did anything about it at all. Oh, we got a freeze again going on, sweetie. So we'll wait for her to come back. We've got a freeze situation again, guys, and it's just her internet's having some struggles. So you should have a problem with that. I have a problem with that as a former officer, and anybody should have a problem with that. They're looking for Major Harris. He's missing at this time. A good Samaritan calls in, or she's afraid to call in. So she calls her daughter, and her daughter convinces her, you have to do something. We have to do something. We have to report this. They do report it. And they're supposed to go back out and investigate this. Why is this child here? Why is this child being seen? The neighbor didn't like the feel of it. The neighbor said the child had never been seen on the block before. I am 100% feeling that had to be Major Harris. So is this investigation into the death of Mallery, is this much more nefarious than what anybody could ever have imagined? Was the reason Mallery was killed was to take her child? Is that what happened? And then something went very wrong and he was unalived? Or was whatever the nefarious situation was, did it happen? And then they unalived him. I don't know, because I can't find it in the police reports that give me any indication of what's really going on here. I'm very, very concerned about this whole immunity situation with this supposed witness who had, so he stole a car, number one. He stole a car of a dead woman. And yet he got immunity because he said that he would tell you where the child was if you gave him immunity, and you're just going to do it just like that. They don't typically do that. Police don't typically do that kind of action. I mean, yes, we want to find the body of the child, but we also want to know what really happened. And now you've just given immunity to the only person left who could tell you, because Jaheim Clark is dead, supposedly by his own hand, which I don't think I buy. Mallory's dead, not by her own hand. The baby, the child, is dead. And none of it makes any sense. Absolutely zero sense to this investigation. You don't have a motive. There's no motive for Jaheim to kill either one of these people, especially a child. But there could be motive if these characters who had the child for 2 days were, you know what's, the P word. I hate that word. I wish they could come up with a different word than that word so that we could actually use it, because now no one wants us to use any words that are in the dictionary on YouTube. But what if that's what we're dealing with? What if that's why the child was taken? What if that's why Mallory was unalived? So the question list is long. So let me pull it up again while we're waiting for, let me try to see if I can bring her back. Okay, you're back. You're not frozen.
For now.
We'll just keep going in and out of the freeze up there.
Hard.
Hey, up where you live in northern Wisconsin, you are in the deep freeze. I'm freezing enough here where I'm in Madison now. I traveled up here.
We're not that far away.
I froze while I was coming up here from Florida. Let me bring Ida back with us. So, hi Ida, you're back.
Oh God. Now a lot of these cases are concentric around children, right? And the semblance of or the casual suggestion that child trafficking is happening, right? I could point out a lot of cases related to what's going on in Massachusetts that are linked to what's happening here in Sandra Birchmore and the Norfolk County District Attorney, where they make some weird conclusion based on one person's death, where that's kind of, oh, here it is, this is end game, right?
Mhm.
But there are implications that isn't quite it. That either the police or whomever hasn't done their true due diligence, and they are obstructing families from getting closure from a real investigation. I mean, in the way confidential informants are kind of wrapped into this, right? Like, oh, this individual is like, I know where this child's body is, and we're giving them blanket immunity. That's a wild thing. Did it conclusively result in an admission of guilt by a party? No. Yet the police are willing to wrap it all up. In Norfolk County, it's partially like, oh, this person was a confidential informant and they don't want to be exposed for using tax dollars to fund criminal activity, frankly. I mean, there are a lot of cases that are linked to the Norfolk County District Attorney where pin it on this particular person who can then not speak for themselves, or because they are actually a criminal, they're not gonna say that wasn't me, because their criminal activity extends beyond that. But the only information presented to a family is what that district attorney wants to present. You're not provided open access. I'm not talking about like they're turning over whatever information. I mean, that is a problematic too. Like their case is based on XYZ. They're not turning over XYZ, but in addition to that, this extends beyond that, right? So in a child trafficking case, they're like, well, this person is responsible, this is where it ends, when in reality it extends beyond that, and they're protecting a confidential informant. Should you be protecting somebody that is going into these situations repeatedly, because like that's how that works, you know, you're a drug dealer and you're ratting people out, you should get immunity once. You don't get immunity in perpetuity. Like, you should get immunity in that case, and that's it. Period. Cut it off there. And anything after that, you are not provided immunity. But they use confidential informants as if they're ticketed employees. It's actually frankly deranged.
So yes, and it's deranged. And what you're saying is spot on. I mean, you're giving us examples of what you've experienced in Norfolk County, and it parallels to what Mary, I believe, is experiencing in Milwaukee County with the death of her daughter and her grandson. It parallels to many other families around the country. I'll bet if we had the ability to just bring on 20 more families right now and open up this screen and we all be tiny little faces, there'd be 20 of us. I'll bet you we could find similar situations with police departments and sheriff's departments that would all match up. And at the end of the story, the families are being hurt. The victims are not getting justice.
I think the question is like, where is the kink in the infrastructure and the policy that allows for this to happen? Like, what line in the legislation afforded them this this opportunity, this leeway, as an investigative tool, which they're abusing, because it certainly needs to be revoked. I mean, I know about, I intimately know about the inception of confidential informants and WITSEC and all that. And from the very first case, people have lied to cover their own ass. And then they are sent back out to, quote unquote, witness more crime. Like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, what the hell are you cops doing? Like, a child murder is not a weed exchange or cocaine exchange. Like, when the product is children or human life, it is a vastly different scenario. These should not be treated in an equitable way. And Mary, I am actually compelled to do a deep dive on the Milwaukee police tonight after we get off this call. So
Mary, I want to thank you, Ida. You always have such just deep thoughts. I mean, your thoughts are deep and complex and always very thorough.
Yeah.
And Mary, I want you to finish reading now the police report, since you're not frozen. So go back to where you were. Thank you, Ida.
Of course.
Uh-oh. I think
she's frozen. She's frozen again.
She comes in and out of the free zone, but at least she comes back.
Me?
Okay.
Can you hear me?
You're back.
We can hear you.
Okay.
Let's try, do me a favor. Let's try to shut your camera off and just listen to your voice. Sometimes your camera is pulling a lot of juice, and that way you might not freeze as much. So just turn, let me do it. I think I can turn your camera off for you. Hang on. Let me see if I can do it. No, it's not letting me right now.
Let me see here.
Do you see on the bottom where you can mute yourself? You can turn your camera off. There you go. Let's try that.
Okay.
That might help us with the freezing. I
would rather that. Okay.
Yeah.
So you want the questions that we had for the police officers?
First of all, did you have any more to read on that police report from any more about, there was a little bit more to the story about the woman in Germany, correct? Oh, are you still there? All right. Well, we're going to let her unfreeze. Idly and everybody else, I'm going to just read you down I'm going to go through the questions first, and then we're going to come back to them and discuss them. So I'm just going to read you the list of the questions that we provided to the police detective. Now, he had these questions for well over, probably close to a month, because we were originally going to meet in December. He said that we gave him more questions than he was prepared for, so he needed time to write answers to all of them. Okay. Right. Sure. He needed more time. So we booked, I called him after the holidays. That I'm just scanning through the list. We called him after the holidays, and he said, I'm getting there. And I said, okay, well, when can we book this meeting with the family? And he gave me some date choices, and I got with the family, organized the date choices, and we booked a date. Just the 2 days before we were due to meet, and he was supposedly prepared. And I give him credit because I do believe he was. He was very kind to me, very professional. I have no problems with him whatsoever. But 2 days before we were supposed to meet, I get a text that he sent me an email, and I'm like, oh, great. So I go read the email, and I'll read it to you guys when we're done. But I'm just going to read you all the questions, and then we're going to come back and have Mary chat with us about why and how we came to even have. We won't get through the whole list tonight. We'll be back. We'll come back together as soon as Mary has time, maybe next week, because we're now going to get through the whole list. But I want to read you I'm going to read you like a few of the major questions, and then we'll talk about those, and then we'll get down to the rest of them tonight. We ended up with, and this should be a little bit stunning to all of you, if this case was thoroughly investigated, we ended up with 28 questions. And when we get through all of these, you'll understand why we have them. And it really does show you that there is something very wrong with this investigation, with this entire situation. Let me see if Mary Jo's, can you still hear us, Mary?
Yep, I can hear you.
Perfect. Okay, I'm going to read through the first 8. So we're just going to start with the first 8 tonight. There's way too many to get through them all in one live stream. So number 1. Why did it take 2 days to notify us of Mallory's death? The medical examiner's report says Mallory was identified by paperwork that was in Jaheen's room, also from looking on Facebook and seeing a blessed tattoo. And it said her purse was collected as evidence. It also said there was a child-sized clothes that were collected that had blood on them. Number 2, why did no one think a child may have been with her? Number 3, at what point did they start looking for Mallory's car? Mallory wasn't identified right away. Oh, I'm sorry, Tanner. Do we need a quick break? Actually, guys, we have been doing this for an hour 42. Let's take a quick stretch break. So if you need to get a tea or something to drink or idly, I'm going to run my guy out here real quick, my little buddy. And so we'll all be right back. I'm just going to type in the chat box. We're taking a stretch break. And then we'll come back and go over these first 8 questions to the best of our ability. And we're going to have to get to the rest of the list next week. So stretch break, and we will be back very shortly. Give me 5 minutes. Thank you.
While we are on a stretch break, I think that everybody should make public records request and request information regarding those that are tasked with enforcing the Constitution in our community, upholding the Constitution in our community. You can request their police reports. You can request their emails because they are taxpayer funded employees and their emails are public record. Their police reports are public record. If they are using their cell phones while on duty, that's actually public record. Ensure that you are holding their feet to the fire. Because without accountability, there is lawlessness, even among the police. And I hope that everybody listening tonight is venturing for that and venturing to uphold the Constitution in their own community, whether it be Boston, certainly Milwaukee, every community. We should be holding their feet to the fire, as their job is to serve and protect. Whether it is children, whether it's women at schools, we really need to be ensuring oversight of that enforcement. And the oversight of that enforcement should not be relegated to other police officers. In Massachusetts, we have the Post Commission, which is imperfect. It certainly is imperfect, but it does exist. Their job is to ensure that every individual officer is upholding their duty, is upholding the Constitution, and their bylaws and whatnot afford taxpaying citizens the opportunity to address grievances in a very structured way that maybe other states don't have. I hope they have. So, Mary, what is your favorite restaurant in Milwaukee?
I've never been to Milwaukee.
Okay, valid.
I will
Where are you
not go to
located?
Milwaukee. Every time on Facebook, there's murders every day in Milwaukee. I will not go there.
Valid. Totally valid.
We wouldn't go back there. We didn't go there when this all happened. Well, of course, it happened. We weren't informed until 2 days later, and after that, we've had a lot of harassment from this whole thing.
Yeah.
We have no clue why. We got followed twice from going to Major's grave.
Yeah.
Why? We have no
Why?
clue.
Because they have culpability for not doing their job, and they would. I mean, certainly with Sandra Birchmore, they felt it was more effective to police the backlash than it was to police the crime surrounding it, I guess. So, quite.
Well, there's some white vehicle that all their windows were tinted. We've gone to Major's grave only a couple times, and that same damn vehicle has followed us twice. and we do not know why. We don't get it. There's more.
I've had a lot of
there's way so more to all this, and
right.
Someday.
It's coming. It's coming. It's trickling. They talk about trickle down economics. I feel like we are in the age of trickle down justice. I'm
like
praying
that,
for
Ida
it.
Lee.
Or
I like
we're
that
going
trickle
for
down
like
justice.
blow up. If they're not going to trickle down justice, I'm going to blow it up from the bottom rung. So,
Well,
oh,
I like the
God.
way you said that, because here's the thing. Communities, people have to get involved. We have to support
That's it.
families whose loved ones have been taken from them and they're not getting justice, or there's nefarious activity going on.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of great police officers out there. I 100% believe that.
That's it.
I still know people that are police officers. I still know good cops who are serving their communities and protecting their communities. But we have to continue to weed out the cops that are not the good cops, that never came into this profession with any good intentions. And that's the scary part, is that,
well, you put it on individual cops, but I think that policy actually needs to be very central to this. I mean, the WITSEC program, the confidential informant program. I mean, the very first case of this was problematic. It was not just problematic, it was like abhorrently flawed. And I think that the way they're approaching justice needs to be reevaluated, reconstructed in a way that doesn't allow actors to situate themselves as infrastructure to a trickle down system, right? As a confidential informant might. Especially, I mean, like, who gives a flying fuck if it's a weed deal? Zero people care about that. Like, actually, zero people. And like, even in the terms of like higher order drugs, like whatever that includes, I don't understand drug classes, but like coke, I actually do not give a shit who's blowing an 8-ball, but I actually 100% give a shit who is selling a 4-year-old's ass. I do. So like, there should be zero like confidential informant anything when it comes to child trafficking. Like, just jail or like the guillotine, which sorry.
I know. It's hard not to get like so angry that you can't even describe when you hear and see some of the things that those of us that advocate have heard and seen, and families who have had to witness the death, be part of the death of one of their loved ones through any type of come here, Tanner, any type of assault or the R word or sex trafficking of children. There's no way. But anyway, I want to get back to the list now that I took my stretch break and you guys were venting with each other. That's great. Let me get back to the questions list where we were at, except I'm not hit. Tanner, come here, Tanner, come here.
Hi, Tanner.
When we approach our 2-hour mark,
boy.
He's just a puppy still in so many ways. He's a year old, but come here, Tanner, man. When we approach the 2-hour mark, then he starts to say, "Hey, what about me?"
Valid, totally
I've been
valid.
sitting here silent and quiet for almost 2 hours. What about me?
He was a good boy for a very long time.
He was. So, okay, let me quickly try to read through, because I don't want to keep you guys much longer than 2 hours, because we can come back to this next week. We have time on our side right now since they have canceled our interview and they don't want to answer our questions. we have time on our side right now to continue to go over everything with a fine tooth comb. So question 2 was, why did no one think a child may have been with her? And then question 3, which was almost where we left off, at what point did they start looking for Mallory's car? Mallory wasn't identified right away. How did they know what kind of vehicle to look for? Number 4, pictures showed blood in the back of the car. Whose blood was it? Why is this not in any police report that we've been given? According to Robert Williams, they didn't get her back of the car. They weren't able to lift her. I'm just adding a little bit to our question here, just so you guys have context. Robert Williams claims that she was too heavy for 2 grown men to lift her in the back of the car, but she wasn't too heavy for them to get her put back into the backyard. Right. So that makes absolutely 0 sense. And then whose blood then was in the car? Whose blood was that? So number 5.
I'm sorry. Do you feel like maybe I feel like a great way to curtail all this is like perfunctory, like you actually, an investigation is initiated, there is a crime. Every single thing should be documented, whether it's the cops' communications that are involved, like, I don't know, Rob Devine, and the police officers at a lower level, and Sandra, like every single thing should just be not public access, but in open source to those involved, whether it be the individual's family, the police, investigatory agencies, because like right now we are literally all hostages of whatever the police want to release, and it's not great. I mean, like you pointed out, like case by case, like this is across the country. This isn't Canton. This isn't Milwaukee. This isn't San Diego. This isn't, Rio Rancho, New Mexico, where Billy Farwell lives. This is like nationwide. I feel like you have to push and push and push. If you're a defendant, right, you have to file motion after motion after motion for this evidence, which, I mean, I guess I live in a different space, or I was developed in a different space of science where like information is valuable and others can grow upon it. You know what I mean? And
definitely.
with police departments lately, it's felt like information is a danger and they must suppress it. And like as a scientist, that is the most disturbing approach that I could imagine.
Yeah. I'm going to go back to the question list for her family, for those that are here for her family. And you and I
valid.
You and I can go off and embellish and talk about anything we
Totally.
want to talk about.
I know. Sorry.
No,
personal rant.
It's okay. I just
carry on.
I appreciate you joined us tonight because you have been through a lot and you can relate to this type of grief and just horrificness that this family has had to go through. And I appreciate a lot of your wonderful, intelligent comments. So one thing I want to say to all of you and that are live with us that are from the family is that live streaming is a very tricky situation. And when I bring guests on, I like to have guests on because I like to hear everybody's perspective and I like to hear comments from the chat as well. So when another guest is on with us, I mean, Mary Jo and I have live streamed alone as well. This tonight was a little bit more of a togetherness with someone else who's been through something similar that you all have been through and that knows about crime and corruption in her own state, so that she could give you a little bit of perspective that this is not just happening in Milwaukee. This is not just happening in Wisconsin. And sorry, come here, Tanner. So that's why we're doing this type of live stream tonight. Mary Jo and I have already covered Mallery. Come here, honey. It's okay. It's just a noise outside. So Mallery Major Harris on several other live streams. So tonight was just a little bit different than maybe what you were expecting, but we are doing our best. And I wanted Mary to meet Ida Lee because she has been through the ringer in her own state with police corruption and with informants and things that we're concerned about here. Do we know for sure that there was an informant involved in Mallory's case? Not yet. Do we know for sure that there was corruption, police corruption involved in Mallory's case? Not yet. But that's why we're looking into it. That's why we're talking about it. That's why we're spending all this time, Mary Jo and I, going over the police reports and reading them and finding whatever we can find.
But do you think that you, as a layman, like you're removed from police work, like you shouldn't have to be an investigator? Don't you feel like, as a layman, or as somebody that's like personally implicated, or not implicated, sorry, like a family member of the victim, don't you feel like that you should get that information kind of in a more immediate fashion? Like, oh, this person's a confidential informant and they provided this information. Not like, we're gonna shield this person in perpetuity because like maybe we need them to investigate more child trafficking.
Is that a question that you're asking for Mary, Ida?
Maybe generally, because like I'm very confused about a lot of how the dynamics are like occurring. I don't know. Not between all of us, but God, I am myself looking for clarity because like Sandra
It's a complicated. First of all, this case is way more complicated.
How it's applied, how these things are applied in different states, how they're being applied to different cases. I mean, like, case law is case law is case law. How is this being applied in different communities? How is it being abused in different communities? And how can we prevent it?
That's a topic for a whole nother night.
Totally. I know. I'm sorry. All right. I'm muting. Carry on, queens.
So, Mary, do you want to answer that question that she asked of you, though? Like, because you've never, I mean, I've been a police officer, so I understand some of the issues that are involved with this case, with confidentiality and with not giving us everything back when they were investigating because they did not want to disturb the case. But now that the case has been closed for so long, I think what Ida Lee wants to know is how does it make you feel when they don't come here, Tanner? That's enough. Sorry, guys. He hears something outside. How does this make you feel when they shut down our interview at the last second when we had really poignant questions, important questions, and they shut down the interview just days before, citing command says we can't answer these questions?
Angry, very angry. And we've been angry for 5 stinking years. They keep trying to say they provided us with an exuberant amount of information. They have provided us with nothing. We don't even know if they had her phone. That's a simple, very simple thing. Pings everywhere, pings. But all they ever said was, we don't think that Mallery. Okay, so Mallery had sent Paul a text on the 13th. The day before it happened.
Oh, we got a little bit of.
I think we lost her.
Yeah. Hang on a second, everybody. We're going to give it a second because I really want her to come back. And for her family too. I mean, I have to say, you guys, the freezing is difficult. So I can't just have dead air when Mary keeps freezing constantly. I have to fill it in. So I'm glad that I had another guest tonight to help me with that, because we can't control when we have issues with guests with their live streaming capabilities. That's never something I can control. So I do the best I can. Yeah, I do the best I can. I have to continue.
Mary, welcome back.
All right. But I just want to let her, I think her family's getting frustrated with us, Ida Lee, because we're doing a lot of comparison to other cases and they weren't expecting that. And I do want to apologize to them. But again, this live stream was about comparing other cases so that you don't feel so incredibly alone in this world, that you are the only ones that have gone through
You
something.
are not alone, Queen, and you might have sparked a fuse. I definitely am gonna take a peeky at Milwaukee police. So, you know. I think that your support system, your infrastructure, I mean, speaking out is super important, and everything you're doing is tremendously important, not just for your case, but like for other individuals that came after and potentially would come after. I hope this is all like some kind of spark for change.
Yeah, I just I don't even know. I don't know what to say right now.
I'm
Well,
in that boat. That is a totally 100% valid standpoint. From my own case, that is how I feel daily, that I'm kind of like lost in the woods. But I know that I'm one tiny, you know, atom in a giant sea.
and
And
it's sad. It's sad that you
yeah,
or any victim would feel that way, but that sadly is what's going on in our country. We have a
I
lot
know.
of issues with police not doing their jobs correctly, with politicians doing nefarious duties, with even medical examiners getting coerced or threatened.
Ugh,
So let me pop back
yeah.
to the questions that, like I said, that I was reading through, and sorry for sorry you guys that we're going, comparing, contrasting, but that's kind of what we wanted to do tonight. And if that frustrated you guys, Mallory's family, I'm sorry, because there is no exact science to live streaming, and especially when you have two guests, it's not as easy as you guys might think it is. So number 5, according to what Mary Jo found in the police reports, Mallory did fight back. They were told that there was blood under her nails. So with technology today, we are questioning and asking why were they not able to test that DNA? Number 6, pictures showed a GUN, and I have to do that because of YouTube, that was registered to a Tehran Lee. Did he ever get talked to? I'm going to go further. Was he ever a person of interest? Was he ever questioned, brought in for questioning? Was his gun used? Was the gun used on anyone? Number 7, was the gun used on any of them? And number 8, on all 3 of them, because if we consider that Jahim might have also been unalived, then you're talking about 3 homicides, not just 2. Number 8, was Mallory's smartwatch ever found? Now that we know about technology and what people are able to use with technology, what about her phone? The only thing we were ever told about her phone was that they didn't think that Mallory hang on, I got to go to the next page, was the one that sent the text to her father on the 13th saying that she was going to Madison. So that means that someone was just trying to get the family to believe that she was going to come to Madison. And let me just do 9 and 10. Number 9, why didn't Carlton's mom's house get searched when PD went there at 4:30 a.m. in the morning? It was known that the last text Paul received from Mallory was saying that she was going to Madison. Number 10, there was a lady that called from Germany, and this is the part that we were talking about earlier, because that was, to me, this is such a huge piece, a huge component of this case with Major Harris. There was a lady that called from Germany to say her mom had called her the day before when the Amber Alert was going on, saying that there were 3 Black men at 3249 North 26th Street, house of a vacant lot. The men were observed on 10/16 at approximately 15:30 or 1600. That's 3:30 or 4 o'clock, talking out in front of the house. 1 left and 2 stayed. 10 minutes later, one of the two men that stayed got a phone call and left in a white car. 5 to 10 minutes later, both men returned in the same car with a little boy, light-skinned, wearing a dark gray jacket and dark blue shorts. They didn't leave the house all night. Lights on all night with the blind shut. The person said the little boy did not belong there. It did say District 5 was called to have someone go check it out. Squad 5167 responded to the house. There was no answer. They said they would come back later. Now, question 11, because it goes with it. Did anyone ever go back? And if so, where's that police report? So there's our first 11 questions out of 28. So those,
and just to throw it in there, it was when we went to visit Major's grave, it was a white vehicle that followed us from there.
A white vehicle. There's a, yeah. Do you guys remember what kind of vehicle it was? I mean, there's so many white vehicles.
Right. All we know, it was an SUV, and all the windows were tinted. Even the windshield was tinted. But it was just weird that it was a white vehicle as well.
Yeah, it is. But there are.
I know there's a lot of white vehicles. This one, all the windows were tinted. It was an SUV.
Yeah, there's an awful lot of white vehicles, but that is a little bit of a coincidence. I wish that we had plates. Dawn
we
says,
tried, but they were too close to us. We couldn't get the plate number.
Yeah, no, it's not your fault. I wish you could have, but it's not like I'm not blaming you for anything. I would love that the woman across the street could have gotten plates on those cars that she saw, obviously. Dawn says, why does this corruption keep happening? Innocent people dying over corruption and money. Dawn, I wish I could answer that to you, but I think something that's come out from the last few weeks and months of these Epstein files, this dump of disgusting criminal behavior, is that power and money really do rule way more than we ever realized. That it allows people to escape any type of consequences, any type of legal consequences for their criminal behavior, because they cover for each other. They have people covering below them, above them. Similar case that I covered a year ago in Indiana. There was a sheriff that got away with not any type of homicide, but literally monetary crimes for years and years and years and years, because he was insulated by policy. He was insulated by politics, by the mayor, by the governor, even. They're proving now, and he ended up only getting 12 years in jail for a huge amount of crimes that they couldn't even convict him for because the statute of limitations had expired. And he was protected below him, above him, everywhere, side by side of him. And it really is, it's shocking and it's stunning, but it's going on, and it's going on in every state, not just in Indiana or Massachusetts or Wisconsin. And because money and power lead people to commit crimes, some people get into those levels of power because they are nefarious characters. Some people were okay when they first got in power, but then they get surrounded by people that are not okay. And then they become parties to crimes, and then it just becomes habitual. And then it rolls into so many people involved protecting each other. How do you stop it? Where does it end? It's a question that's very difficult to answer. So we have this list of 28 questions that we gave to the detective from the Milwaukee Police Department. He supposedly had prepared answers to all those questions. He had them for well over a month, close to 3 weeks, and then canceled the meeting a couple of weeks ago. Our meeting was canceled. So when I originally booked this live stream to come on and go over the questions, I expected to have answers to all these questions. I didn't expect to be sitting here with all of you for 2 hours talking, rehashing what happened to Mallery when we already explained all that, many many weeks ago, Mary Jo and I, we expected to have answers to all these questions for you so that there could be some type of closure for the family. But now we have more questions because they didn't answer our questions. Now we have more questions. Why did they cancel the meeting at the last minute? Why are they telling me that now I have to do a FOIA request for every single question? Which I just found that out now. They're telling me I have to literally do a FOIA request for every single question. I'm like so confused. So I emailed Mary Jo, just so you know, I emailed the detective again and said, what the heck is going on? What do you mean I have to FOIA every question? I don't even know what that means. I want unredacted police reports. Her case is closed. We want to know the who, what, where, when, why, how on a closed case. And why can't you tell us? Why
Clearly corruption. This is weird.
Scarily, yes. And Mary, are you still with us or are you froze?
I can you hear me?
I can, yes, I can still hear you. Okay. So
I hate Milwaukee.
You have every right to feel how you feel. I just have so much empathy for you and sadness and frustration now that we were able to compile a list of really good questions about a very horrific homicide of your daughter and your grandson. And they don't even bother to take the time to answer them when the case is closed and they feel that they're justified that this case is closed. Then why can't you answer our questions?
They never did answer the questions. That's why we have been struggling the last 5 years, because
it's just the most
God will bring justice to them.
Well, you are bringing justice to them. You're bringing justice to them by talking about them, by asking the questions, by asking for more clarity. I'm really surprised in a way that Jaheim's family hasn't continued to press, because he was blamed for this. They made him the suspect of both of your wonderful family members' homicides.
They didn't believe it. I don't know. I mean, I was messaging with his sister, but somehow, just I don't know how, out of the blue, my phone that I was doing that on got shut down, blocked. So I don't know. I have no clue how that happened. And I cannot, when I try to turn it back on, all it will give me is the type of phone it is. So I don't know. What do you do?
Can you send me some more information on that? I know a couple people who are pretty techie and IT. I'd like to know more about this phone situation. If you could just send me some more information on it, I'll see what I can figure out.
There was a lot of it. I mean, I was just using it as on my Wi-Fi at home, because it wasn't a phone that was tied to a cellular company or whatever. It was just our Wi-Fi here. But I had a lot of information on it. And all of a sudden it just shut down while I was using it. So I don't know.
I'm always concerned the amount of technology that we have right now and what people can actually do by getting into hacking your phone, hacking your email, hacking your Facebook. It's just stunning to me what can go on right now behind our backs without our permission.
Yep, I agree.
So send me, I don't think if you told me that, I apologize, I forgot. So I mean, you and I have talked about so much, and I've read so much that you've provided with me. Sometimes I forget little things here and there, and that's something I'd like to talk to one of my sister is big time IT, and I know a couple other people. A friend of mine used to work for the FBI, and I've told him a little bit about your case as well. So I'd like to know more about the phone situation. If you can share with me in an email or text me, whatever is easier for you. And then I'd like to finish going over our question list, the rest of the questions, because we read out the first 10, 11, which I really would have been so interested in hearing the answers to these questions, and that's what's so frustrating. And like I just told you, the email I got now says that I have to do a FOIA request to get my questions answered. So I've never even heard of that before. I don't even know how to go about doing that. So I'm going to have to do more research now on what exactly they want me to do. And if that means I've got to make phone calls, starting tomorrow, and try to talk to somebody there in records and say, okay, what exactly how do you need me to word this so that I can get answers to these 28 questions?
Yeah, that's just the way. That's what we've been dealing with for, like, when it all happened. They sent 5 pages of just reasons why they weren't, the redacted crap. 5 pages explaining that alone. It just is ridiculous.
Well, I know this because one of the cases in Florida, the same thing. They supposedly his case is closed and nobody's getting arrested, and it's just getting written off as an accidental death. But yet his wife was being given redaction after redaction. It's like, wait a minute. Why so many redactions? I mean, it's one thing. We don't want to know someone's address. We don't want to know their phone numbers or their social security numbers. We understand the redaction for things like that. But when they redact things that make no sense, that have no bearing on hurting anybody or causing anybody any pain or problems, to understand the resolution of a case better, why are you continuing all these redactions after you have closed the case?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay, so it happened to Mallery on the 14th. We didn't find out till 2:30 in the morning on Saturday, 2 days later. So then we say that, tell them that, she had a child. So then the Amber Alert went out. So they were focused on the Amber Alert. They really didn't tell us much about Mallery. And then they were focused on Jaheim and Major. Well, then supposedly Jaheim committed suicide, supposedly. So then they were focused on Major. So then they find Major and case is closed. They will not talk to me anymore. Anything I've asked them, case is closed. So nothing was ever shared to us about Mallery. We're just supposed to forget about it. They're crazy.
Well, here's the problem too, is that how in the world could they possibly have determined for sure that Jaheim, if he did kill Mallery, and it would had to have been a fit of rage, because there was no other motive for him to kill her, then what if someone else killed her child, your grandson? It was 2 days later.
They're trying to say that Major did, Jaheim did both of them. Okay, so if he did both of them, at what point did this tote come about? William said that he helped Jaheim move the tote, but when? Because it wasn't in the car when supposedly they were trying to put Mallery in the car. It wasn't in the car then. He had the car from the day that it happened to, till they found it at the laundromat. At what point did this tote come into play? Because it was never, ever brought up in any of the freaking records other than him trying to say he helped Jaheim put the tote behind that tree. When? Explain something to us.
Exactly. And not only that, those are great points and great questions, but also explain the why 2 to 3 days. If we are to believe, and I think it sounds very probable, that he was seen on that street 2 days after Mallery was killed, why are you hanging on to a child for 2 days?
Right.
Why wouldn't you just find a way to drop the child off at a police department anonymously, or leave the child at a fire station? Or why are you killing a child?
The medical examiner report says that the last time they had on there was like a half hour after that happened to Mallery, down the block. It was a different address, not at the same address that Mallery was found. There's just so many unanswered questions, and we want answers to those questions.
Well, exactly. The steps of it just don't make any sense. And to me, a witness seeing him, exact description of him, with the clothes that he was probably similar clothes that he would have been wearing 2 days later.
Wasn't
And then
it him in the tote? Major was 3. They said the clothes in the tote were 6. Was it him? Why?
I understand why you think it's possible that it wasn't him.
I mean, why did we get screamed at for, we were told that Major was released to us, that we can bury it. It was said on national television that that the biological dad wanted Major buried next to his mom. But when we proceeded to make that happen, we get a phone call screaming at us, saying that we stole his son's body, that, he was going to sue us. He was suing the funeral home. He was suing Milwaukee. Why? I mean, it was said on national television that he released the body to us and that he could be buried next to his mother. We don't understand. It was a closed casket, obviously, because why were they trying to pour something on him to decompose the body? Why? I mean, none of it makes any sense. And the child in the tote did not have braids in his hair. Like the Amber Alert went out and saying that he had all these braids in his hair. The child in the tote did not have braids in his hair. There's just so many things.
It's very disturbing. It's very, very disturbing.
Why will they not give us the DNA?
Exactly. You have every right to have all these questions. This is valid. These are valid questions that any family member would want to ask and should get answers to. And not getting answers to these questions. And the braid thing is very concerning. Like, I mean, braids, as you well know, braids are not easy to put in, nor are they quick to take out. So right. You're going to tell me that kidnappers that had your grandchild for 2 days after your daughter was killed are going to take his braids out of his hair? Now, could they have done that so they could disguise his, disguise what really is, so that they could try to change how he looked so that he wouldn't be recognizable? Possibly. I mean, there's answers, but
why are they trying to put something on him to decompose him?
I don't know that because they didn't want him to be found so that there wouldn't be any of their DNA on him. Right. There's that possibility, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of possibilities.
But it's all horrible. It's all awful. And the fact that the police who are supposed to protect us and help us in matters like this are acting so coldly, because they're giving me it's been 5 years and we've already answered all their questions. Well, you're not living their life, sir. You're not Mary, Joe, and Paul and the rest of their family, and Wendy and everyone else that came in the chat tonight or listened in. You're not going through this horrific loss of life where there's so many questions and none of it makes sense, and they don't believe the right person was accused and arrested and obviously never made it to court, because they're saying that he unalived himself, and they are accusing and blaming Jaheim for this crime, for these double crimes. And
so they wanted to blame it on drugs. In the records, it was saying that there was a backpack of drugs in the person's house that Jaheim was found at. Did they ever take DNA off that? I mean, if they're trying to say it was drugs, was there any DNA on that? I mean,
exactly. And again, if they solved the case closed, case solved, then why wouldn't they want to give you answers to your questions, to give you peace and solace? Why would they not? Why would they be making it so difficult to get answers to these questions?
Exactly.
And help a family to get the peace they need to get to a spot where they can move on into closure. You cannot move on into closure when you're sitting in limbo with all these unanswered questions.
No, we can't.
I understand that. It's okay, Tanner. Well, thank you. Thanks for coming on tonight. Thanks for allowing. Sorry about that. I accidentally muted myself. Thanks for allowing Idali to come on with us and kind of share with you some of the things that she's experienced in her state, just to give you an idea of feel that there isn't, you're not alone in all this. There's many other families out there who are experiencing similar situations to what you have experienced. And it doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it okay. But sometimes just having somebody to vent with that knows what you're going through, that has been screwed over by the system, that has been lied to by the police, that has been taken advantage of by politicians and police in their community. It can just kind of sort of like a support group almost. You don't feel so alone. So sorry if we frustrated your family that we weren't getting to the questions fast enough, but we're not on a time frame here, folks. Mallery and Major are gone, and it's horrible and it's a tragedy. And all we can do now is try to continue to ask the questions, work through the complications and roadblocks that the police are throwing in our way, but having someone else to bounce things off of who's been through it and who knows a little bit about crime and corruption from their own communities is and can be helpful. So sorry that it frustrated some of you. I think it was Dodie got frustrated and said she was leaving. Well, I can't control how long you all stay in a live stream or how long you leave it, or if you get frustrated with some of my tactics or my method to my madness. So I just try to do my best for the families and offer these volunteer live streams as often as I can for a platform for the families to vent and sometimes engage with others who have been through similar situations. So thank you, Mary and Paul. And when would you like to reconvene so we can finish going through the other part of our questions?
I guess, we're kind of open.
Okay. I'll just work with you on that date off air. I just wanted to put it out there that we are going to come back together and go over the rest of the questions. And maybe I'll have an email or an answer from Milwaukee Police Department as to exactly how they want me to phrase my open records request based on 28 questions. And I might have more, to tell you at that point as well. So I'll get with you off air to arrange our next live stream to go over the rest of the question list.
Okay, that sounds good.
All right.
And I apologize that I don't know why our computer has been acting up like it has.
I'm Mallory's aunt, and this whole thing stinks. Well, thank you, Dawn. I agree with you. The whole thing does stink, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. And don't apologize for your computer issues. It happens to all of us. It's happened to me. We were going to do this last week and I couldn't get StreamYard to work. So sometimes StreamYard acts up, and I hear from other live streamers and other content creators that, sometimes our platforms don't work. There's storms, there's things going on. We're all flexible. We're all trying to help each other, and nobody gets mad at each other for these things. And I certainly don't mind when you freeze at all. I just continue to give background and talk about what I can talk about until you can come back on. So it doesn't bother me. And if the chat box gets frustrated with us, I'm sorry, but Mary Jo and I have spent lots of hours together working on Mallery and Major Harris's justice. I couldn't even begin to tell you how many hours I have read the police reports and gone over it, and the conversations that we've had and our phone calls and our text messages. So friend zone, I love you and I respect you. But when you get impatient with us, it doesn't help us. Okay. We are living this investigation, this justice seeking every day. And so we need grace as well, because there is no perfect science to live streaming. And I am not a professional live streamer. I don't get paid to do this. This is my volunteer passion. So I am always doing my best. And I really, truly appreciate the patience with me and my guests and my families, because they deserve it. So they deserve whatever grace you can bestow on us when we decide to come live. We do a lot behind the scenes that we do not do live, and we don't need to do all of that with all of you, but we like to include all of you whenever we can, because we appreciate your comments and your suggestions. So thank you. And I will get back in touch with you soon, and we'll decide when we're going to live stream again.
Yep. I mean, pretty much anything where we can make things work.
Yeah, I'm flexible to you guys too. I mean, Wednesdays is typically my night, but we can do a Thursday as well. So we'll let you all know when we're going to be
Wednesday
back.
too.
Yeah, we'll let everyone know when we're going to be back to go over the rest of the question list. I want to thank Ida Lee again for talking with us and giving us a little perspective on on how this is happening in other states and how it looks in other states, because it does help to have that little bit of compassion and empathy and venting. And I'll be getting with Ida Lee again to do something more in depth as well as to what's happening in Massachusetts right now. There's been some bizarre uncoverings with politicians and police officers in the Jeffrey Epstein emails, which is very concerning and upsetting. And that's why Ida Lee asked, have either one of us looked into, were they in Milwaukee? Did they start a ring there of child trafficking in Milwaukee? And is there any?
I never even realized that that was even tied in with Milwaukee, the Epstein. I haven't read anything about the Epstein.
According to what we're finding in all of these email drops, he has his tentacles in every state in America and other countries. So it's far worse and far more huge and wide reaching than I think anyone could have ever imagined. So and what Ida Lee was trying to say, even though the friend zone was getting frustrated with us, she was trying to always bring her experience back to you and say, what if they were never, it wasn't about your daughter? What if it was always about your grandson and never about Mallery? And Mallery was the collateral damage all this time, as I think you've been looking at your case as Major Harris was collateral damage because Mallery was involved in something nefarious with Jaheim. What if it was never that? What if it was about the child? And you and I did discuss this personally between the two of us, but we've never live streamed about it because we don't have enough evidence. But the fact that Ida Lee brought it up tonight because of what she's found out about what Jeffrey Epstein and Giselle Maxwell were doing in Massachusetts, in Stoughton, Massachusetts, and that it's looking like they were actually involved in the grooming of Sandra Birchmore, which is another case that I've been advocating for, never ever imagining that Sandra Birchmore was a victim of Jeffrey Epstein. I never even imagined it. I just thought she would, come here, Tanner, I'm going to take you out now. I just thought she was a victim of the nefarious, horrible, criminal, ex-deviant, dirty cops in Stoughton, Massachusetts.
And that's, I think the problem tonight is mine. For some reason, like I said, I missed a lot because, I mean, I was sitting there listening and all of a sudden it just said locked. My computer locked and we could not come back on. So I missed a lot in all of that. So I was confused on a lot of things.
Yeah, it's okay. Because I think that when you go back and watch on the replay, it'll help you, because Ida Lee was trying to draw references. It's okay, Tanner. I'm sorry, guys. My puppy's had enough for one night. He's like, this is it. I need to go out again. And I'm tired of my mother being on the light. So we're going to close it off for tonight, because Tanner is at his end, and as he should be. And we'll get back together very, very soon, because I am now going to look into this as well, because I have we've had major concerns about Major Harris, you and I personally together for the last couple months. What if he was the target? So I really think there's just this is just such a complicated situation. And now with the police changing their mind at the last minute and not taking our call and not wanting to do our interview is very upsetting to you and to me. Yeah. So thank you, everyone. I appreciate all of you for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you to you and your husband for continuing to put yourself through this. This is horrific for you, 5 years, but you're strong and you guys are fighters and you want to know the real truth.
Yes, we do.
So we're going to keep digging and we're going to keep asking questions, because it doesn't make sense. And that's that. So
we appreciate all you have done. We really do appreciate all you have done.
I know you do. And I'm grateful to know you. And I'm grateful that I get to help you try to figure all this out to the best of our abilities.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll talk to you very soon. I'll get a hold of you tomorrow and we'll figure out our next action and when we want to live stream again.
Okay. Thank you. You have a good night.
All right. You have a good night too, guys. Good night. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for your patience at times when we needed stretch breaks and doggy stretch breaks and people stretch breaks and all the things that we have to do. And Ida Lee is amazing. She is a hero in her own community for calling out corruption and for calling it like she sees it. And I'm glad she got the chance to meet Mary. And Mary Jo and her husband are heroes for continuing to fight for justice for their child and their grandchild in a very confusing, convoluted case as I look at it, because I work with so many different families and they're all different. They're all horrific. They all have their own kind of ins and outs. And their common thread is that dirty deeds are being done behind the scenes, whether it's a politician in the area or a cop or several cops or people that were given immunity for reasons that make no sense, or just a shoddy investigation not done properly. So too much time goes by. They all have things in common. All of these beautiful humans whose lives were taken by the hands of someone else. So thank you so much for supporting us. Thank you for supporting Social Change Warriors, caring about justice for all victims. And we'll be back again very soon on our channel with more advocacy and support for victims of homicides and their families. Take care, everyone. Good night.
They try to silence the truth we shout, but we're still here, we're still calling out. Corruption hides behind a badge of name. We light the fire, expose the shame. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they tried to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. The stories echo, the pain runs deep. For stolen lives we can't just weep. Elected power but their hearts are cold. We'll bring the truth, let it be told. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they tried to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight. The heroes undo the harm. Calling out corruption, we'll stand tall for justice and truth. We'll risk it all. My life mattered is the cry we sing. Together we rise, let freedom ring.
What?